I'm going to start this video, and these are like 10 turn-offs that other people may be turned off by. And believe me, there could be more, but I'm just going to narrow it down to 10. So when it comes to really turn-offs, this is things that make people want to be away from you. And the thing is, if you do this more often, people wouldn't want to be around you. So the first thing that I'm going to say as a turn-off is bad hygiene. And this video, it may be short. I don't want to make it longer than it needs to be. When it comes to bad hygiene, it could be bad breath, it could be bad smells. You smell bad, your breath smells bad. Not you, but just like, for example, it's just an example. So not that your breath smells bad, it's just an example. So if you have bad breath and you have bad smells, all you need to do is start showering, you need to start having deodorant, and you need to have chewing gum and Vaseline so that you can actually smile. I know that it's very simple, but it makes you more confident in like your smile. You don't want it to be that people distance themselves from you because you have a bad smell, because some people won't actually tell you, but the more that people stay away from you, that's something that you need to consider. And another thing that I'm going to say, when it comes to really a turn off, sometimes it's the things that you say. You know how I like pop music and I like wearing certain clothes? If people said it in a certain tone, like, why are you dressing like that? And people may say, why do you like this music? You should like this instead. Why don't you take care of yourself at all? And some people will say that because you don't go out so much, that people say you're boring, that why are you always inside, that why are you not outside? Because if people say that you're boring, it's because what they like to do, they think is fun. But what you like to do, they think is boring. If people are telling you to change the things that you like and to like the things that they like, you realize that it's very controlling and they want you to be like them exactly. If you can't be yourself around other people and they're always controlling you, you don't feel like that you can make a decision at all because people want to control you, and that's really a massive turn off. So the turn offs that I've told you so far is really bad smell, bad breath, people being controlling, and sometimes what people say, it can be a massive turn off to you where they try and boss you around. So I've told you 2 or 3 turn-offs right now. I'm just going to continue on the video. So another turn-off is when people are lazy. And the reason why I say this is because, you know, for example, when you're around ambitious people and then you're the one that's lazy, you realize that you're the one that's always learning from them, but they aren't learning from you. And when someone is so lazy, they always say, can we do this later? They're always doing things in their comfort zone. Or sometimes it's like this, where the lazy people, they become ambitious, but that's very rare. Instead, the ambitious people, they become lazy. And for lazy people to realize that ambitious people are ambitious because they have reasons why they're ambitious. They want to do it for themselves, but for other people. But when it comes to someone lazy, they normally do things for themselves, and they're normally selfish. So that's why they may give up so easily. And when someone is so lazy, it's because they want to do things that are comfortable for them. Another turn-off that I'm going to say is when you pretend to know it all, or when you act like a know-it-all. Because you know when you do things all the time and you're like, it's either my way or it's no way, and there's always people with like a fixed mindset, I think it can be a massive turn-off, because if other people are not learning from people, then you realize that it can be a massive turn-off, because what you're saying, they don't really listen to it because it's not their way of doing things. And for example, let's say you're in an argument, you're trying to find solutions to a problem and not complain. You only do things that you want to do. You don't listen to other people at all. And you have to realize that in an argument, you're not arguing about each other. You're arguing about something financial, or you're arguing about the way that someone does something, but you're not actually arguing at the person, if that makes sense. You want it to be that you learn from other people, but you do things your way, rather than just doing things your way and not learn from other people. I'm going to move on to the 6th turn off, and I'm only getting up to 10, because there could be way more than 10, but I'm only doing 10. Yeah, number 6 is when people can't read the room. And this is like one of my turn offs as well, because you know how, for example, when a room is so quiet, but then someone's like talking really loudly, they expect you to talk as well, and they expect you to talk loudly. And this can be a turn off, because if people can't read the room, or they can't read how a person's really feeling, that they keep provoking a certain person, that what they're saying, it does really affect people, but they still say it anyway, you realize that it can be a massive turn off. Because you don't want it to be that you're upset about something, and then the person that you're talking to doesn't really know, but someone that doesn't know you at all can see it, but then they don't. Because you know, for example, when you're upset, you expect the person that you care about the most to actually know about it, but then if they don't ask you any questions at all, then you realize that it can be a massive turn off, because they're not paying attention to you, and they're only doing things that they want, and they're only doing things that benefit them. I just thought about it right now. So you know, for example, when you don't tell people what it is that you're thinking, you don't tell people what it is that you're feeling, it can be another turn off, and I believe this is 7. And this can be a turn off because if you start to bottle up things and you start to make things build up when it doesn't really need to, you realize that you become upset, and then you start to show your frustration to someone else who doesn't really deserve it. So you don't want to bottle things up. Instead, you want to tell people things whenever it starts to come up in the moment. You don't want to start building up negativity, because then you start to upset people and it stops you from being positive. I've lost count at this point. And this is number 7 now. Because if you're not on time for things, you realize that people won't trust you at all and you're not really reliable. And why is it that you're on time for things like parties? When it comes to important things, why is it that you're not on time for that at all? When you're on time, it means that you're early. So people say that if you're 15 minutes early, that you're on time. And when you're on time, it means that you're late. And when you're late, it means that you're late. So that's what I'm going to say, because ever since I got told that, I just start being on time for things. And it's very important that when you are on time, that it gives off a good first impression. People want to trust you more. And when you're on time, you have more time to prepare for things rather than doing things in the last minute. And if you want to be on time, just set alarms, be there as early as possible. And that's all I got to say about being on time. Because if you really care about things and you care about people, you will actually be on time no matter what. The last 2 turn-offs that I'm going to say, I know that I mentioned about hygiene, but if you don't take care of your appearance, where you're not groomed, your clothes aren't ironed, it can be a turn-off. And it's very obvious because, you know, when you're meeting people, you don't really have to say a word. And it's only when you meet that person that they start to like you more or less, depending on your personality. But when it comes to your appearance, you want to be as put together as possible. So you want to make sure your eyebrows are done. You want to make sure that you don't have dry lips. You want to make sure that your clothes match in color, that it matches in style. The clothes are comfortable for you to wear. Because if you don't wear clothes that are like comfortable, you realize that you're not going to come off as confident, and your body language is not going to be as good. The last thing that I'm going to say is when you take yourself too seriously, that you don't seem to joke around. And I feel like I do turn off people like that, because whenever I do try and joke, it doesn't come off as funny as I think it does. When I'm not really trying, that's when people start to laugh at my jokes. But it's like when I take myself too seriously, people think it's not as funny. And I feel like I take myself too seriously all the time, where I don't smile as much. And I can only apologize, but that's really who I am as a person. So yeah, that's all I got to say. If you're new to the channel, you can like, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you in another video.